that kind of builds up that toolkit. And then in fourth year, you're like, okay, this is the context to everything you do, which is so important.
And it's those pieces together.
Exactly. And tell me, as your role as an assistant lecturer, how have you found that? Like, has it been something that has been challenging for you? Is it something that you found valuable? What are sort of your feelings around that role that you've taken?
There are definitely different aspects to working in an actuarial space like this, around students especially. There are a lot of different perspectives that you're exposed to, different questions that you might not have even thought of. So in that perspective, there's a lot of opportunity to grow and build your own knowledge while you are guiding students. So that has been quite fulfilling. But also just being around, in this actuarial section, there's so many great minds, and I'm constantly learning, getting insight about their actuarial journey. And I think the main thing for me is being around people that are kind of nurturing this passion. I've been getting like a sense of motivation.
Yes. And also just exposure, right? I think truly what's quite unique about your position is you're in a space where in some ways you're being mentored by the department.
Yes.
And yet as an assistant lecturer, you're mentoring our students. So it's kind of like, this kind of like paying it forward kind of thing. Which is, I think, such a valuable role to have, because like, even if you've done a 4-year degree in actuarial science and you've done, actuarial risk management, you don't necessarily understand the space, And so working with actuaries, I know it was incredibly valuable for me to have that element of mentorship where someone's like, okay, these are the spaces you can work in. And these are things I found challenging, and this is how I overcame them, etc. One part of assistant lecturing, which I'd like to sort of double click on, is like that support you give from like a psychosocial perspective, right? How have you found that? Like that sort of, when students are like, I'm really struggling, or like I'm going to deregister, or like this is not for me. Like, how have you dealt with that? And has that been something you anticipated, or has it been like an area of surprise for you?
I mean, certain situations, I can relate, because I definitely know how they feel like after a test, if they're not feeling good, if they feel like they're not coping as well as they would like to. On those levels, I can definitely relate and, kind of walk them through the situation and help them understand the context. But I think a big part of being in this space is being a certain sort of mentor and, providing that support when they need it. And also, a lot of the time in undergrad, you feel like everything that happens is, because it's so important to you, it feels really deep, and
yes, it like rocks your whole world, kind of thing, like when you fail your first test or whatever.
So it can be quite a hard knock, especially for the younger students. So what's important to sort of help them realize is that it's just a test. You're going to have many other opportunities to make up for this. It's not a reflection of your intelligence or
who you are as a person. Like, you're so much more than just this one test that you didn't perform well in.
Definitely. And I think what a lot of students in undergrad struggle with is taking time for themselves and being guilt-free when taking that break. So a lot of the times the problem is coming from not taking care of their mental health. So that is also one aspect that I'm slowly starting to understand, that might be the main issue. Certain situations are out of your capacity and you have to redirect, but within the space that you can help, I definitely try to do as much as I can. As a student, they can relate to you.
Yes, they can, because you're more approachable, right? I think often when you see lecturers, they feel like there's a detachment. And
definitely, I mean, in undergrad, I mentioned this before, I definitely put all the lecturers on a pedestal. Like, I was just like, these guys are so amazing.
I was just saying, it was so funny. The other day, I interviewed some of the people that lectured me. I felt like I was like interviewing a celebrity. Like, I was like, wow. It's so weird, because now that I'm a lecturer, I'm like, oh, please don't do that to me. Like, I do things wrong all the time. Like, I have a lecture later today, and I lectured something yesterday and I explained it badly, and I'm gonna have to go re-explain it this afternoon. And that's fine, But I think it's interesting, because I was an assistant lecturer, but I worked as a tutor when I was in my 4th year. I studied at Wits, and I was tutoring the second years. And like, so often I wouldn't even be really helping them with the content. Like, you would just be talking to them about like how they're coping, and like, I remember the one tat I spent like the the whole time just trying to convince this one guy not to deregister. I was like, it's fine, like it was just a bad taste. He's an actuary now, so I'm like, look at you. But like it's a very different role, and I think it's also interesting looking back and seeing how far you've come.
Definitely.
That's something I've always found interesting. Like even now when I lecture, I'm like, this wasn't me all that, like this was me or not all that long ago, you know, and you realize that you can progress so much, you know, and how much potential is also sitting in front of you.
Yeah.
Which I think is sort of something I'm trying to settle in my own mind, because it can come with its own level of anxiety. So you feel like you're managing other people's futures, but that's not on me. Last question to you would be, what is a piece of advice you would give to your younger self, or to rephrase that, to someone who is starting their actuarial journey, sort of like a matric or a first year, like something that you think would have been helpful had you known it at that sort of time in your life?
Okay, I think earlier on in AXA, it's important to take it slow, take it slow. It's a very long journey.
It is.
And, you know, the road to becoming an actuary, it feels long, but that's only if you look at it all at once.
Yeah.
Take it step by step.
Yeah, you need to break it down into doables.
Yes. So what I could also say is, as I mentioned previously, is to celebrate the small victories that you have, celebrate the progress that you have made.
Yes.
That will definitely help you move forward with a lot more momentum.
Yeah. It also helps the mindset. Yeah. Like, hey, like, look, I've improved. Like possibly I did badly in my first test, so my second test, like, I did better, and like that's a win kind of thing. It means that I'm showing some sort of increased proficiency, or like celebrate those wins.
Definitely, there's a lot of growth that is to come from where you started in, whether it be in your first year, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot to learn, a lot of challenges to overcome, but the key concept, it sounds very basic, but if you just put in the work, that's just standard. Like, you get to where you want to be. You know, students often come to me and ask, like, okay, how's this course? Like, what should I do? And I think
they want like these little shortcuts. Yeah, and it's like, sorry, dude, and shortcuts. So
to do it. Yeah, and you must enjoy it while you're doing it.
Yeah,
because that makes it 10 times easier. Yeah, really, truly welcome it and not worry about whether it's going to be difficult or easy.
Yeah, you can take it as it comes, and also foster an interest in what you're doing.
Yeah,
which I think like is difficult, given that you don't know what to do. So you do it, but
enjoy the mystery.
Yeah, and trust that in that process. I mean, the curriculum is set up in such a way as to build proficiency, and it's done that for many years, and many actuaries are in the sort of working world because of that. And so like trust that sort of like longitudinal data, if you want to call it that. And so to the exactly, they apply to everything. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
It's been wonderful. And to our listeners, thank you for listening, and see you on the next episode. Goodbye. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a review on your preferred streaming platform. If you'd like to interact with us more, or add questions or topics to our pool of ideas, please follow our Instagram page at AS4Actuary, or email us on asforactuary@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. Take care.